a few years ago, I made a decision, which at the time seemed like a very difficult decision. I chose to bike across the country. I was like 31, so it seemed as if it was a pretty silly thing to do. Like I should be focused on growing a business, making more money, buying a house, starting a family, but that's not. I didn't really care about doing all that. And in the past, I really struggled in nihilism. So I was starting to be like, I don't really care about what I'm doing right now. I need to find something that I care about because I know if I'm live life not doing stuff that I care about, I can get off track, get into nihilism, and that leads me to not a good place, start wiling out, become very self-destructive. So I was like, all right, I need to just not go there. I don't really care to just start settling down. I want to do something else. And one of the questions I'd ask myself is, well, what motivates me? What makes me excited? Like, I have one life, YOLO. What the H? What the heck am I going to do with my life that's actually like, And I just had this idea, like, I'm going to bike across the country. It's a very silly thing to do, but that's what I'm doing. And once I decided to do it, I realized, at the time I didn't realize what I was doing. It just was like, I don't know. And once I decided to do it, I realized it's a pilgrimage. And now that's not something that people really do in our society, in our culture, but that's things people have done in many different cultures all throughout the world, all throughout time. So in a sense, it's actually a very normal thing to do. It's just that in our little sliver of time, it's not common. It's not common parlance. Oh, I'm going on. What are you up to? Going on a pilgrimage? Well, of course, people weren't doing it. People don't. Even though people do these, once I realized what it is, a pilgrimage, biking across the country, people are doing them all the time. This kid just skateboarded across the country. Get a freaking plane ticket. It's a pilgrimage. It's a spiritual journey. Once I made the decision to do that, I realized that is what I needed. And it was after I made that, right after I made that decision, I don't know, synchronistically, ironically, spiritually, that's when I met my wife, who's my wife now. And biking across the country was a really good experience because I realized that you don't, or I was it was reaffirmed on how little I needed to feel good and be happy. I had my bike, I had literally one change of clothes, I had a tent and food for the day, and I would sleep like on the side of the road, wherever, in the bushes, in my tent. There's actually a lot of places to stay, but rest stops. I was basically a homeless person, and it was fine. I did not feel any more. No, I definitely did not feel any like more bullshit that I experienced in my day-to-day life. It was a good experience, and that's the thing about experience. You have to do it. No one can do it for you. You have to lift the weights. Like you can be like, oh, getting like I used to think like building muscle was like stupid, idiot. And once I went and did it, I see how valuable it is, and that's just like it's worthwhile. And you see the world differently. Just like quite literally, if you're 10 feet tall, you're gonna have a different perspective. Like if you are walking around as like the baddest man on the planet, you're gonna see things differently. The way you'll perceive threats and perceive the world will be different. If you go and make yourself strong, you're gonna see the world different. And if you put yourself in a situation, you have to put yourself in the right situation to experience change. Like you can't just think about going to the gym. You can't just watch videos about it. Like you have to go and lift the weights. And it's like I can't just go and like change the DNA or genetic fucking the cellular level of muscles. Like I can't do that. I don't know how to do that. I don't know how to grow muscle. I know how to eat chicken and broccoli and go like this. And then that makes your freaking muscles bigger and your brain and your body all connected. And that's just a way about everything. Like life, the idea that life is happening for you, that's what life is. Like life is a stage for growth. So you can get to the next level and whatever's going on up there, I don't know. But that's the thing about your life. You have to do it. It sounds like such a cliche. Oh, you have to live your life, but it's like Once you have to make your own decisions, and that was the thing, like about biking across the country. I mean, it was a life-changing experience. It was very impactful, and that was the thing. Like, no one was telling me to do that. No, the idea came into my mind, like, and it just seemed like it was the right thing to do. And in retrospect, or in hindsight, I think it was. And no one was telling me to do that. No, everyone I talked to was either like, "Oh, okay," and I had one friend being like, "Don't do that. That's a stupid thing. Like, focus on other stuff." But I really felt like I had to do that, and the only reason why I was able to like make that decision to go do it is because I've done things in the past where I was like, I'm going to do my own thing. You learn from that, make mistakes, you have good experiences, and you go forward. Like, a lot of times I've made my own decision, and I live with that. Like right now, like I just think the whole notion of going into debt to buy a fucking house for 30 years to work at a job you don't like is foolish. So I'm staying with my parents. I have a pregnant wife, and we're staying with my parents. It's not ideal all the time, but I don't want my wife working because I think that is retarded. And I didn't want to work the job I was doing anymore. And not everyone has the privilege of being able to go stay with their parents, but a lot of people do have parents. And I think one of the things that I think, which is not necessarily congruent with what's happening, is that families need to be more, think of themselves more as tribes as opposed to just get out and be independent and go out and serve the market. Who gives a shit about the market? You should go and become an individual so you can serve your people, your family, and your neighbors, essentially. The whole notion of like living with having neighbors that you have no relationship with and you go and work for some guy that does not care about you, I think is not healthy. But anyway, this video is getting long enough, so I'm going to wrap it up. You have to live your life, and you only have one life. These are cliches, but they're true. You have to come to terms with yourself and your own trajectory. Like, what am I doing? And you have to fucking deal with the ups and the downs. Like, it's not necessarily going to be easy because there's a lot of times I'm like, what am I doing in my parents' basement right now? And then other times, and obviously this is where I land because I'm here, is that despite the shit that we have to deal with, making the right decision for now.